Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday the 13th day of November. It's Ben Jones hanging out here in the coffee workshop, doing a little bit of Batdorf and Bronson coffee chatting. Today, I want to look at the Chemex brewer. As we're coming into the holiday season, we have our holiday blend, which is fantastic, and coffee buyer Bob specifically recommends brewing this on the Chemex because it's amazing and delicious. We will be popping into the comments links to our coffee at batdorfcoffee.com, links to a Chemex, and then I'm going to toss in a link to a little tool that's going to make your Chemex super easy to brew. The manual brew style that we do, it's nice and easy already, but I'm thinking during the holidays, even if you don't have folks coming over to your house to do a big holiday meal, there's just enough if you do an in-house, in-family meal. Making the coffee, you still want that really great experience, but let's try to make this as easy as we can. So, I have my Chemex here, and I have my paper filter. I'm just going to slide that aside and show you the other bit that we'll be using to make our Chemex brewing super easy. Maybe controversial, I don't know, but the Bonavita coffee brewer. This is pretty cool. This is a nice little thing that we can do with our Bonavita machine. Actually, I have to unplug this. I need to move this down. I need that outlet. There we go. All right, so with this, a couple weeks ago, I did a little chit chat about the Gabby dripper. That was just that little shower head that you can pour your coffee through to do a pour over. We're going to use the Bonavita. We're going to use the shower head on here. To do that, we'll just pull out our carafe and our filter basket, set those aside, and then we'll take our Chemex, and look at that, the Chemex just fits nice and perfect under the Bonavita. However, the square filters, if you're using the squares, they ride high. It has that kind of decorative flair. So, to address that, what we're going to do, gotta take a little pen or a pencil. I'm using a pen so you guys can hopefully see better, but just put our filter in. And then I'm just going to trace the line along the top, kind of get a little guide. So I have transcribed the arc, or the curvature of that there, and we'll just take our scissors, cut this down. If you have the rounds, personally I prefer the rounds to the squares. The rounds absorb a little bit less water, so you just have to use a little bit less. It's already trimmed down if you're doing this. All right, I'll just take that. Same thing, just open it up. We've just trimmed off all that excess, and that will fit nicely into our Chemex. Because I really enjoy coffee that doesn't taste of paper, I'm just going to give a little rinse to that filter. And while that happens, I'm going to plug in my Bonavita. There we go. In a workshop, you can't have too many electrical receptacles, so that's just super handy. All right, little rinse. Remember, if you're ever curious whether you should or shouldn't rinse, give it a rinse and then taste that rinsed water. See what it tastes like. If you taste the paper, let's give it a rinse. All right. Good deal. Oh, our friends over at Tail Draggers say that they're all stocked up on their Chemex gear. Right now, Chemex is experiencing a super high demand of filters, so don't hoard them, but go out and buy yourself a reasonable supply to get you through the end of the year. So thank you, Alicia, for joining us today. All right, so put the ground coffee in there, give it a little settle. And for this one, I know I'm kind of back and forth on the divot. I'm going to give a little, just kind of put a little crater in the top there. Slide that under. There we are. And then with this recipe, I used 41 grams of coffee, standard Chemex grind, and then I'm just going to go, we need 0.7 liter, that's about 700 grams. So I'll just pour in to midway between the 6 and the 8. Give a tiny bit extra for what I'm going to absorb in the filter. So as you can see, we don't always weigh. Now, here's the really fun part about Bonavita. I could just go and turn it on, and it'll run like a coffee brewer. But with this brewer in particular, with this model, whether it's the white one or the stainless steel, if you hold the power button for about 5 seconds, it'll blink. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And it's brewing. So now when you hold that down, it'll give a bloom cycle. It'll do a delivery of water, then it'll pause and let the coffee bloom. So people might be thinking, why not just use the standard Bonavita setup for it? Totally could. Maybe you just really like the Chemex filtration because it is pretty awesome. We talked some while ago about how you can take a Chemex filter and using some pretty intense labor, measure things out, plot, cut, and fold so that you convert it from a cone into a flat bottom. I would do this instead. This was pretty intense to get that. Similarly, the geometry of flat bottom versus cone, some people really can tell the difference between. It will make a difference in how you brew, the way it rolls out. And if you also like just doing the manual brew thing, go for it. Back when, pre-COVID, my job at all of our family gatherings was to make the coffee, so we would land at the in-laws or at my parents' or the grandparents' house, and I would set up a little brew station kind of out of the way, and I would just spend an hour brewing coffee, just manually brewing it, just keeping water heating. It gave me something to do, kept me out of trouble. Awesome. So the spray head's running as resume. I could just leave this alone as it is, or I could come over, and the spray head, it's hitting the coffee down there, and it's getting it saturated with water, and we're starting to brew. But the spray head just delivers what it does. There's no control over it like you get with a pour kettle. So I might give just a little swirl of the Chemex in the brewer just to kind of even out, make sure everything is nice and wet. Similarly, you can take a skewer of some kind if you need to stir. These vents up top are narrow enough that if you needed to just kind of come in and stir the coffee, you could do that. If you happen to notice any clumping. But the whole idea of doing this is so you don't have to babysit it. But now, I have somebody else making my coffee for me. Although I really enjoy, it's a spam risk. I just don't want to buzz in the phone. Anyway, while I really enjoy the process of making coffee, sometimes it is nice to let somebody else do it for you. And if I wake up before everyone else in the family, they're not going to make it for me. They usually don't anyway, it's kind of my thing. But now I've got my own personal barista now, so. If you don't have a Chemex, but you do have a Bonavita brewer, or if you have any type of coffee brewer you really could do this with, as long as it can fit under, you can do that. But you could also, pardon me 1 second. With any of the other type of pour-over brewers, you know, all you have to do is get your brew device up close to that spray head, fit it under, you know, fit a tall enough catch vessel underneath it, and you can do a B house, you can do a V60, you can do a Kalita Wave, you can run your Melita filters through there. All you have to do is just remember to use the proper grind size, proper dose of coffee, proper dose of water, and you've got yourself your own little barista at home. I enjoy the Bonavita. I don't use my automatic brewers very much, only because, again, I'm the only coffee drinker in the house. But, you know, if you have a few people in the house who drink coffee, you could just, you know, do the old-fashioned, brew up your pot, and then you're all set. You could cycle through a couple Chemexes pretty quick, too, if you wanted that little touch of extra on there. It's very different having these chit-chats where I'm not doing anything, where I'm just leaning on the brewer. The water is all finished, so now what I have left is, you can see my swirl. I got some grounds up kind of high. I didn't overflow, but now we're just in the drip through stage, and I'm going to have a nice little pot, Chemex pot of Holiday Blend here. But while we're talking about Chemex, if you really like the Chemex line, if you like the Chemex aesthetic, I'm really kind of shilling for Chemex today with my sweatshirt. And anyway, go to chemexcoffeemaker.com. They've got just a lot of fun things. They actually have an automatic brewer. It's called the Automatic, OTTO. You know, harkening back to that kind of the Germanic Polish roots of Dr. Peter Schlumbaum. So the Automatic brewer, it's designed by and for the Chemex. This works really well too. Favorite thing about this is the cleanup. You just grab your filter, pull that out, straight to the compost bin, and you have your Chemex. All right, so we'll pop in the comments, you know, link to the Holiday Blend, our Chemex, and I think I'll just toss in a little link for our friends over at Chemex as well. So there we go. I have a mug here somewhere. There we go. It's clean. I always have to double check in the shop because things get dusty. Make sure it's clean. Well, let's put a little coffee in here. It's hot. Let's see how we did. It's so nice to have somebody else make me a cup of coffee. All right, everybody, thanks for joining. Happy Friday the 13th. Are you superstitious? I think this is our second 13th on a Friday for this year. Yeah, what could go wrong? All right, everybody, thanks for joining. I won't be back on Monday. I'm going to have a live video, or a recorded video that I'm going to ask my counterparts to post up for me. It's going to make a special little refreshing chill drink for the holidays. So take care.